Okay, today we're going to start from Gimel Amud Aleph, Tani Reb Chia. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. That's the learning we should have the basic Mikdash. Immediately we're learning in the schus of Zahav Golda Bas Baruch Binyamin. Also Refuah Shleima, that means Refuah Shleima. Okay. Tani Reb Chia. Reb Chia is a student of Rebbe, and he's the author of the Brises. And he taught the following. He's the editor of the Brises. He said, Manali biyadcha. If a person says to his friend that you owe me $100, and the other one says to him, I don't owe you anything. So, but there's witnesses that show up for Reuven. Reuven is the creditor. Shimon is the defendant, let's say. The Edom show up on Reuven's behalf and they say, no, we know that he for sure owes 50. So, witnesses, that's good enough for us, right? He has to pay 50. That's good. However, the Chiddush is, he has to swear on the rest. Says that we're going to bring a Kal V'chomer. We didn't say what that is yet. We're going to have a Kal V'chomer that's going to prove to us that, let's say he would have said, I owe you 50. Would have said, I owe you 50. Then he would have to make a shvuah, which is called a shvuah made of mitzvahs. If he admits to half, denies half, and admits to half, then he has to make a biblical oath. So over here, he denied everything, but witnesses testified to half, which is basically like he denied half and admitted to half. Now what Reb Chia is saying is that I have a Kal V'chomer, that if this is what the Gemara is going to try to play out, that if witnesses, if make a macha, you have to make a macha. Macha, I mean you have to make a protest.
I am.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll do it another 3 days.
So if witnesses, if he would admit, he would have to make an oath. So witnesses are no worse than admitting, and so therefore he should have to make an oath as well. Then he adds on one more point. So there's two things. The first point that we're going to need to figure out is what exactly is that Kal V'chomer. That's the Gemara is going to work on for another page. And then V'tanatuna says that our Mishnah supports what we just said. How does our Mishnah support that you have to take an oath when you have witnesses that are testifying to partial guilt? So it says, two people holding on to a talis, as our Mishnah. One says, I found it and it's all mine. The other one says, I found it, it's all mine. But here, what's going on? Each one is holding half. Even the toughest, the fact that he's holding half, an ansadi, that's as if that's testimony for us. In other words, there's a concept of witnesses that come to court and testify. There's another concept of witnesses that it's as if it's witnesses. Well, the fact that you're holding it is enough proof as if there's witnesses. So it's an ansadi. It's we are witnesses. The word anan means us or we. We are witnesses. The Maida Tuf is high. That what this one is holding, Didehu, is considered his. The Maida Tuf is high, and what this one is holding is Didehu, Uktani Yeshava. And it says that he has to swear. So we're looking now at the other fellow. Let's say there's a Reuven and Shimon here holding the talis, right? Just like there was a Reuven and Shimon that where Reuven was claiming from Shimon that he owes him money. So we're looking at what Reuven's holding. And we're saying that I have witnesses testifying that half of it is Reuven. And we see the Mishnah that he has to swear. We're not looking at what Shimon's holding. We're ignoring what Shimon's holding. We're looking at what Reuven's holding together with Shimon's claim. Shimon's claim is that it's all mine. Reuven's holding half. So that's like witnesses testifying to half, and we see he has to swear.
So holding it is
As if there's witnesses testifying to.
So I've been meaning to ask if someone's holding the whole talus and the other isn't holding the same thing, that change the outcome.
Yeah. If only one person's holding the talus, that would be a big difference. Yeah. The guy that's not holding it is going to lose.
Right. What if okay? I mean, what if it really is his though? You just didn't get to it.
You would need to bring witnesses.
Oh.
That would make a difference.
Okay. So it's not like he automatically loses outright.
Right. But you need a real proof. You need a receipt from the store. You need a.
Won't just leave things lying around.
Okay. It sort of goes against what we learned before, as we're going to see. We learned before that this witness here, that this oath here is a special takanas chachamim. Now we're making the oath as if it's a Maida b'miktas oath, which is a biblical oath. So it's messing us up a little bit. It wasn't the way we explained it according to Rabbi Yochanan on top of the page. Okay.
Quick question. Why is the whole Mishnah use the lashon of talus as opposed to beged? Because in other words, because if it's talus, you can say one's holding on to tzitzis, one's holding on to the beged.
When they grab something that's starting to fray, only the elevate the beggar.
The talus doesn't mean that it's a talus doesn't mean that it's a talus scuttle as opposed to tzitzis or something. Talus just means any sort of clothing. Now the idea okay. Now the Gemara is going to say later that they're actually holding on to the fringes on the side of it. They're not holding on to the actual beged itself. Maybe that's why. Okay. Now, what the Gemara is going to try to do is it's going to go back to explain the Kal V'chomer. My shleitei das piv gedei lemeidah seidim mikal v'chomer. The Gemara starts off with, what would we have thought that we actually have to say that we have a Kal V'chomer? To say that if there's witnesses here, then on half, that he owes half, then he has to take an oath. Why do we even think that we have to that we need a Kal V'chomer to explain this? It says, Shalei Taimar, you shouldn't say the following. When someone admits to he does a partial admittance, he has to take an oath, like Rabbah explained. We had Rabbah before in Baba Kama. The Amar Rabbah says many times. Rabbah says, how come the Torah says that if someone admits a partial admittance that he has to take an oath? It says chazaka because there's a assumption that Shimon over here is the one that owes the money. Shimon would never tell Ruvain, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't owe you anything. Why? Because Ruvain lent him money and he's indebted to him. So he can't just deny it outright. He owes him the gratitude that he lent him money. So Vahai, in this person, he really would want to deny everything, but he has a problem because he can't. So why doesn't he deny it? Because he doesn't. Because he doesn't have the guts. He doesn't have the guts. He has a little bit of gratitude towards the person that lent the money. So what he does is, really he should admit to everything. But the fact that he's not admitting, it's because he's just avoiding paying back. Is like slipping away. Sabar, because he thinks, when until I get the money and I pay him, so the Eibishter says, the Torah says, we impose on him an oath so that he shouldn't try to get out of paying right now, because he doesn't have the money, by saying that I only owe half. So in other words, because this is a little bit of a weak point where a person would have the guts to deny half of what he owes, so the Torah says, no, we don't want you to do that. And so they imposed an oath. Now, the conclusion of this is, and that's only by when someone admits. The Torah is telling him we don't want you to admitting to half and denying half in order to avoid the payment that you really owe of everything. This would only be if he's the one that's admitting and he's the one that's denying. Aval hadas edim. But if he's denying everything and there's witnesses that are proving him wrong, so then we lose the whole thing. We don't have this whole logic because he denied everything. Now Rashi adds in, when you deny everything, now we could assume, or maybe we could guess, that if you're actually lying, so why should we impose an oath? When he doesn't deny everything, then we say that he's not a real liar. He's just trying to avoid the payment today. He's going to pay tomorrow when he gets the money. Then we can say that maybe we can still trust him with an oath. But this guy just lied on everything. How do we know that he owes half? Because witnesses came. He didn't admit to half. He's an absolute liar. He's an absolute liar. So maybe we should say that he shouldn't take an oath.
What happens if the witnesses say 50, he admits to 25?
He was a made of a mixus without the witnesses.
Right, but now we know he's a liar.
Oh.
Oh, shame. Hear me.
What was that?
Chaim is asking if he's an actual made of a mixus because he's admitting to 25,
Right.
but the witnesses are saying that he owes 50.
Right.
So we know he's a liar, but he's also a made of a mixus. So what Chaim's asking is,
he wouldn't have to swear. He's a definite liar.
yeah, according to the Savamina, but the Gemara is going to adjust it in a moment. But what we're saying here is what he's asking, like the critical point over here is when we're saying now that maybe he shouldn't take an oath. Is that because he's denying everything? And when you deny everything, then we know that you're a liar. But it could be that the fact that he admitted to 25 means that he's already ishtam with the kamishtam. That he's just trying to get out of it. He's not really a liar. He was the fact that he admitted to something. Maybe it's not it, or maybe the fact that he's disproven. So it's a complex.
But we don't know that he's a liar.
Belong back in the yeshiva.
Yeah, you know you got your shit.
We don't know that he's a liar.
Back to your chair.
Randy says that's your shit.
Back to your chair.
I'm sorry, Reb Naftali.
That we don't know that he's a liar. If we know he's a liar, the Beis Din will take money from him.
Right.
Right. If two witnesses came instead of one, there's not going to be an oath because we know what the situation is, and the Beis Din will declare his property hefker and take it. It's only the oaths only come in when there's this doubt. There's insufficient proof.
Yeah. So one second.
It's a
What about
possibility that he's a liar? There's also a possibility he's telling the truth. They're equal.
Right, but the fact that he denied everything, and then we have witnesses that say that he didn't, that he owes some of it. So
Well, if there are two witnesses, the conversation's over.
right. But what about him taking an oath on everything that he's denying on the other part that the witnesses aren't testifying for?
So that an oath is being imposed without any witness at all?
Right. In other words, what's a might of a mix that says he admits to 50, and the oath is on the part that he didn't admit to. So over here, he denied everything, but witnesses testified to 50. So we'll impose an oath on the part that he didn't admit to.
Okay. In simple words, what is the call and what is the chomer here?
No. Okay, so 1 second. That we didn't get into that.
Oh.
The Gemara first is asking, why do I even need a kal v'chaimer? It says because really we should say that he shouldn't take an oath b'chlal, because over here he's a chashed amamayna, chashed ashvasa. If we suspect him for stealing, we suspect him that he's going to lie. The Gemara answers. The Gemara now says, "Say malay kamash malan kal v'chaimer." The kal v'chaimer is going to tell me that we're going to impose an oath. Somehow a kal v'chaimer is going to prove that.
We'll discuss this. That doesn't mean that just because he's a liar, like he will take a false oath.
Right.
So,
That's going to come up also. We have to wait for Daf Hey. Yeah, this is all, just gonna wait for Daf. This is all the logic of the back and why I would say a Kal V'Chomer, yeah. Okay,
So,
now,
a person would make a oath if they're 100% sure, or they just want to lie or something. Meaning if he's,
we think that a person would only take an oath if it's 100% positive.
right.
Otherwise, he won't take the oath and they'll have to pay.
These instances where people know that they wouldn't do it, but for not taking an oath, they would pay.
Right, right. That's what the idea of the oath is, to ascertain the truth, right? Because the oath is very serious. Okay. My Kal V'Chomer.
So they'll do what they do nowadays. They say, I can't swear, but I'll affirm, and then they lie.
But affirm is that you're affirming
No one says that.
the
I know that, but some people say I didn't say it.
oath.
People don't swear. So much.
My Kal V'Chomer. What is the Kal V'Chomer that we're saying that if the Kal V'Chomer is saying like this, that if a regular Maidav Mikzas has to take an oath, so for sure, if someone is being a Maidav Mikzas through witnesses testifying that he owes half, so then for sure you should have to take an oath. Okay. My Kal V'Chomer. So Gemara says like this. So Mapiv, if a person's own mouth, Shein Mechai Mammon, cannot obligate him to pay money. The Gemara is going to adjust this slightly because right now it doesn't really fit with what we know. Mechai v'shvua, but nevertheless, his own mouth can cause him to be obligated to take an oath. Eidim shemechai v'naisei mammon, but witnesses that can actually obligate money. Ein din shemechai v'shvua, for sure obligate him to make to take an oath. That's the Kal V'Chomer. If his own mouth that can't obligate money, but can obligate an oath, so witnesses that can obligate money for sure can obligate an oath. Witnesses are so much stronger, for sure they can obligate an oath. The Gemara says a pivein mechai v'mammon. What do you mean his mouth can't obligate him to pay money? But if he admits to anything, that's considered like 100 witnesses, and he is obligated. He admits in court, he is obligated to pay. So his own mouth does have. So what's the Kal V'Chomer? You were making it like piv is the kal, right? And if the kal is obligated to take an oath, so for sure the chomer should. But 1 second, piv is not the kal. Piv obligates money just like the chomer, just like the edim obligate money. So it says my mammon knas. It's a knas. Now we know that Maida b'knas is pater. If someone admits to something that's a penalty, he doesn't have to pay it. It's only witnesses that can obligate him to pay a penalty. So if witnesses that can obligate him to pay a penalty, if his own mouth that cannot obligate him to pay a penalty, nevertheless obligates him to take an oath. So witnesses that can obligate him to pay a penalty, which is much stronger for sure, should be able to impose an oath on him.
It seems like this is different from a legal.
Yeah.
Partial admittance because he needs
Might
witnesses in this.
Maidav Mikzas is the partial admittance.
Uh-huh.
This is different than a Maidav Mikzas because here he denied everything, and the witnesses are testifying to him.
I'm not sure if I remember correctly. But Wakama, there was a situation that the person would like partial admit, and then like with the he really took the whole loan, but with the intention of paying back the person. Was there such thing?
He admitted.
Like he did a partial admittance, and then he's thinking like, oh, I'm gonna pay him later. Like he didn't
Right.
admit to the whole thing.
Right.
But he had the
Right.
intention
Right.
to
That's
pay.
exactly what we're talking about here. That's a Maidav Mikzas. Maidav Mikzas is that he's just postponing the payment by denying it, but really he wants to pay later.
But it seems like silly to me that a person's gonna take like an oath, and he's not. He just postpone a payment.
That's why he's not going to postpone it. That's why we impose the oath, because no one would take an oath just to postpone a payment. So therefore he's going to admit. That's why we impose the oath.
So the money is the call and the shavua is the komer. Is that shot here?
Yeah, I wasn't looking at like that. I was looking at his own admitting is the kal, and the edim are the chaymer. If his own admitting is weak, because it can't obligate a knas, but it can still obligate a shvua, edim, which are so much stronger, that can obligate money. We're using the money to show that edim are stronger. Yeah, you may be able to play with it the other way as well, but since edim are stronger, so and the weaker one is able to impose a shvua, so for sure edim, which is stronger, could impose a shvua. The Gemara asks the question. This is how we reject the kal v'chaymer. Is like this. It says ma piv shein mechay b'knas. 1 second. First, it explains the kal v'chaymer. Ma piv, ma means just as or whereas. Piv, his mouth, shein mechay b'knas, mechay b'shvua, obligates him to take an oath. But edim shemechay b'nais knas and edin shemechay b'nais shvua. Okay, that's the kal v'chaymer. Witnesses that can impose a fine for sure should be able to impose an oath. Malapiv. Now the Gemara has a question. Malapiv shkem mechay v'karban. Temer edim shemechay b'nais karban. 1 second. Problem here. You're telling me that his own mouth is very weak, but nevertheless it imposes an oath. But witnesses are so much stronger. That's not true. His mouth is strong because his mouth can cause him to have to bring a sacrifice, and witnesses won't cause him to have to bring a sacrifice. There's certain sacrifices that he can only bring if he admits on his own, not if witnesses say. The Gemara says, Holy kasha, that's not a problem. We can get out of that issue. Now, what we just tried to do is we tried to make his own admitting stronger than witnesses, and then you lose the kal v'chaymer. The fact that his own admitting incurs that they give him an oath, so that's because his own admitting is so much stronger. It can even bring a sacrifice. Okay. Marianne says that Reb Chia Reb Meir spherle. Reb Chia holds like Reb Meir. Reb Meir says that witnesses can also bring obligate him to bring a sacrifice, and we have a kal v'chaymer for that. The Tanan was started in the Mishnah. If 2 people told a fellow, you ate the forbidden fats of the animal. He says, I didn't eat it. Reb Meir mechayev the chacham peichim. Reb Meir says that he has to bring a karban, chatas, right? And the chacham say he's exempt. This is based on it says in the pasuk v'hisvada shechata that he has to admit. Over here he didn't admit. The witnesses told him. Amar Reb Meir says if they could impose a death penalty on him, you don't think they can cause him to have to bring a sacrifice? Amalai, they told him back. It says it's not true because Mam Yertzalaimer Mezidi see Pater. Even if they impose on him the guilt that he ate it, even if we trust him that he ate it, but he can get out of bringing the sacrifice by saying I ate it on purpose. If he eats it on purpose, he only brings the sacrifice if he ate it by mistake. So his mouth is stronger than the witnesses when it comes to the sacrifice, because whatever the witnesses say, he can still get out of it.
Then he would incur lashes or something, right?
It would be karis, but that's heaven. Basically, he can finagle his way out of bringing the sacrifice, with even when witnesses say that he's guilty.
Right. Death penalty, don't the witnesses warn him, so he can't say that it was by mistake. The
witnesses are telling him you ate it by mistake. And he's saying, no, I ate it on purpose. When do you bring a sacrifice?
But for the example, like for the whole Shabbos thing, they have to warn the person.
Right.
So he can't say it was by mistake. They told him that he couldn't do that.
No, if they warned him, he can't say it's by mistake. Here we're saying, what Reb Meir is saying is that if witnesses can kill him, then for sure they can impose on him that he has to bring a sacrifice. And the Chachamim responded. The Chachamim say that 1 second. What do you mean if they can kill him that automatically they compose the? He has the power to get out of that sacrifice when they're telling him that he ate it by mistake. He can say, no, I ate it on purpose. How do you know what I was thinking? So he still has a way of getting out of the sacrifice, even with witnesses there. So, okay, whatever the case is, the main point here is that Reb Chia could hold like Reb Meir, that says that witnesses could impose a sacrifice. We tried to say that we don't have a Kal V'chaimer because his mouth, his own admitting, is so much stronger than witnesses, because his own admitting could bring a sacrifice. Well, witnesses could also have him bring a sacrifice, according to Reb Meir. So Reb Chia holds like Reb Meir, the Kal V'chaimer is back on. When says 1 second, we have another problem. When it comes to an asham, then which is a guilt offering, he has to actually admit, and it doesn't apply to witnesses if witnesses tell him. The Gemara says asham hainu karban. That's the same thing that we said before, and Reb Meir would say that he's chayiv. We just went through that. You with the chatas. Okay, big deal. So asham is the same thing. Okay. The Gemara has another question. 1 second. When it comes to someone that denies money, and then he admits, he swore falsely, then he admits to it. So besides for bringing the sacrifice, he also has to pay an extra fifth because he swore falsely, right? So he only would have to pay that extra fifth if he admits that he swore falsely, not if witnesses prove that he swore falsely. So he has to. So you see what's going on, that his mouth is stronger than witnesses. If witnesses come, he's exempt. If he admits on his own, then he's chayiv. So you see the reason why his own admitting causes him to have to do an oath when he's a meida b'miktas. That's because his own admitting is stronger than witnesses.
If witnesses come, he pays double.
That depends if he's a Ganav or a Gazlan. That depends. There's a lot of details. Okay, the Gemara says Hole Kasha. That's not a question, because Reb Chia holds like Reb Meir. We said before that witnesses can impose a korban. Reb Meir would say that if witnesses come, he would have to pay the fifth as well. Okay, the witnesses are still stronger than his mouth, and the Kal V'chaimer is back on, and therefore the rule of Reb Chia would fit. Gemara says Ella rather. Witnesses could be contradicted if 2 other witnesses come, and witnesses could also become zayimim if 2 other witnesses come and say that you were with us. So what's coming out is his own mouth. It's impossible for someone else to come and contradict him by saying, if he says I owe money, someone else comes and says no, you don't. He's still chayiv, which means that his own mouth is stronger than witnesses. So when it comes to taking an oath, so maybe the reason why he is when he admits they impose an oath on him is because his own admitting is stronger than when witnesses come. When Reb Chia said that if witnesses come, it should be a Kal V'chaimer that he should have to take an oath. It's not true, because his own admitting is stronger than witnesses. So the Gemara says, we got the Kal V'chaimer a little bit wrong. We were learning a Kal V'chaimer that if he has to pay money from his own, if his own admitting if his own admitting cannot impose a fine on him, but witnesses could impose a fine on him. So, but nevertheless, his own admitting could administer an oath on himself, right? So for sure, witnesses should be able to administer an oath, right? He's weaker. Now we're saying that no, because there's a problem, because his own admitting is actually stronger than witnesses, because he can never be contradicted. If he is contradicted, he's still obligated to pay. So let's move over. We're going to learn from 1 witness. And now we have to see a new Kal V'chaimer. Just as 1 witness cannot cause him to pay money. If there's 1 witness, let's say Reuven and Shimon. Reuven says Shimon owes him money. So Shimon says no, but 1 witness says yes, you do. So he doesn't have to pay. However, Mechai V'shua, but that 1 witness imposes on him an oath. So Eidim So if you have two witnesses that do impose that does obligate him to pay money, and it didn't, so for sure should have to take an oath. So instead of learning from his own mouth, which has a certain aspect that's stronger than witnesses, we're learning from one witness, which is for sure weaker than two witnesses. If one witness causes him to make an oath, two witnesses for sure should cause him to make an oath. Gemara says, it's not symmetrical. What the one witness causes him to swear on is exactly what he's testifying. One witness is saying that you owe money. So the person has to swear that he doesn't owe money. But two witnesses, what are two witnesses going to make him swear? He claimed that he doesn't owe any money. Two witnesses say you owe 50. What's he going to swear on? The other 50 that the two witnesses didn't talk about. So how can you learn that type of swear, that type of oath from Eidim, from one aid, which never has an oath like that? One aid, you only swear on exactly what he testified. Here, by the two witnesses, we're trying to impose an oath on something that they never testified about. The Metzia Daf part, and the part that he's admitting to, that he's denying, right? What the witnesses are testifying, we're considering like he's admitting. Say by witnesses that he has to take an oath on what he's denying. We have a way of doing this. What we can do is we can take an eidechad, one witness. One witness imposes an oath, but we have a basis that once he has one oath, we can impose on him a second oath as well. And the basis for this is from the Saita, when she has to take an oath that she didn't sin with this man. They impose on her another oath that she didn't sin with this man or with any other man. And this is the source for Gilgal Shvua. And once there's an oath, we can like put in like another. It's like Malamechia and Alagefen, and you throw it in over there. That's not exactly a good example. All right. So anyway, what's coming out now is that we're going to be able to have an oath on something that the witnesses did not actually testify directly about, because there's a Gilgal Shvua, they can throw in another oath. Mala Gilgal Shvua deidechad shkein shvua. Okay, 1 second. Gilgal Shvua deidechad. The Gemara asked a question on this. Mala Gilgal Shvua deidechad shkein shvua gerer shvua. How did I get that oath? By the eidechad, by one witness, that he should swear on something that the witnesses did not actually testify directly about. That's because we started with an oath. But witnesses, they don't have an oath to start with. They just have money to pay. So you're not starting with an oath. How can you make a kal v'chaimer on something that you don't have the basis for it? You're missing a big detail. The Gemara says, well, tiv yechiach. We can say like this.
It says here in the Quran that one's mouth can prove that an element other than an oath can cause the defendant obligated to take an oath.
Right.
For the rest of it.
Very good. Very good. Very
Very
good.
good. Very good read. Gotta know which one to read. Gotta know which one to read.
Oh, yeah.
What we're saying is like this, that there's a problem. Now Yitzi's giving out cookies, good comments instead of trophies. So there's the comment that the Gemara was making now was that you can't learn witnesses from a Gilgal Shvua of a Eidechad. That if a Gilgal Shvua, if a rolled on Shvua, an extra oath that is imposed on the person, even though the witness didn't actually testify directly on that, but nevertheless he still has to take that oath. So when it comes to other witnesses, when it comes to two witnesses, actual witnesses, we have a problem, because even though they can obligate money, but they don't have original oath to make the person take a second oath, right? So the Gemara is saying, 1 second. The reason why Gilgal Shvua works, that there's a second Shvua that he has to swear on something that wasn't testified directly, that's not the first Shvua that causes it. Because I'll give you another example of someone that has to take an oath like that, which is a Maidav Miktas, when he admits on his own, where he has to take a Shvua, even though there was no original Shvua. So what we're looking for is what's the critical factor that causes an oath, which is a Maidav Miktas type of oath. It's not because there was a Shvua, an oath beforehand that brings this on, because when he admits, he doesn't have an original oath. He admits he has to take an oath directly.
Isn't that the original Mishnah?
Yeah. So what we're saying now is that we're trying to get two witnesses, to impose a Maidav Miktas style oath. Where are we going to get? How are we going to get that logic that should happen? So we said, well, an Eid Echad could theoretically impose a Maidav Miktas type of oath. And if an Eid Echad could do that, so two witnesses for sure could do that. Problem is that the Eid Echad, the way the Eid Echad gets a Maidav Miktas type of oath, and Maidav Miktas type of oath means that it's not an oath on directly what they're testifying about, it's an oath on what they're not testifying about. So how do we get that? Because we started with an original oath. First, you have to swear about what they're testifying about, and then we throw in the other one, which what they're not testifying about. So now what we're saying is we're going to go over to the witnesses. The witnesses don't have that original oath. Okay, so what the Gemara now says is that, 1 second, it's not the original oath that causes that type of shvua, because you see that type of shvua even when he admits. And there was no original oath. So it says Piv Yechiach. His own mouth proves that you don't need an original oath to have the second type of oath. So it says, 1 second, that's a special reason. Over there, his own mouth cannot be contradicted. We said before that his own mouth is stronger than witnesses. That's the reason why you can get such a strong oath out of his own admitting. So it says, well, but you can't say that that's the reason for such an oath is because he can't be contradicted, because we go back to one witness, which can have such a type of oath and can be contradicted. So we have two ways of getting this oath. One is his own admitting, and one is the single witness through Gilgal can bring this type of oath in.
Let me know if this is correct. So he makes a right? Partial oath. And then the questioner who's asking him can add like an extension.
No, so 1 second. No.
So that
let me set this up. Let me set this up again. What the Gemara is saying is that if someone is made of a miktas, let's say I say you owe me money, and you say I only owe you 50. So then you have to take an oath on the other half. Let's say I tell you you owe me money, you say no, I don't. Then two witnesses show up and say you owe 50. So Reb Chia claims that you have to take an oath as well. He says there's a kal v'chaimer that proves that. So we're trying to figure out what's the kal v'chaimer. So we said like this. We started off saying that if you admit, you have to take an oath. So for sure, if two witnesses, that's much stronger than your own. He said, no, actually, you're stronger than two witnesses. Because when you admit, no one can ever contradict you. But when two witnesses come, they could be contradicted and disqualified. So you're stronger. So the fact that you can impose an oath by your own admittance, but that doesn't mean that two witnesses can impose an oath.
Two witnesses can override your oath.
Okay, but there's the fact that you have one strength in there. Maybe that's the reason why that oath is the other strength. Okay. Now, so because of that problem, the Gemara said, okay, so we're not going to learn from your own admitting, because your own admitting is so strong, it can never be contradicted. We're going to learn from one witness that could impose an oath. So if one witness can impose an oath, for sure, two witnesses can impose an oath, right?
Right.
Okay. Now the Gemara said, but the oath of the one witness is different than the oath of the two witnesses. The oath of the one witness has to swear on exactly what he testified. If one witness would come and say, you owe me the money, so you would have to swear that you don't. But when the two witnesses come and say that you owe 50, you have to swear not on the 50, you have to swear on the other 50 that they didn't talk about.
Oh, so
that's the type of oath.
Swear I don't have to pay 50 instead of saying I only need to pay 50. Like there's a
Yeah, that would also be. But first of all, if two witnesses show up and say you owe 50, you have to pay the 50, and then you have to take an oath on the other 50. So now there's two parts, and that we don't get from one witness. One witness, you only have to swear on exactly what he testified, not on what he didn't testify. So the Gemara says, well, I can actually get what he didn't testify about, an oath on, even for one witness. It's called Gilgal Shvua.
Okay.
So because I can, once he has to take that oath, I can put in there other oaths as well. I can sneak them in. So
I mean,
you'll
why
actually
wouldn't he be able to in the first place?
well, the one witness. Let's say one witness testifies that you owe 50. So you would have to swear only on that 50.
He doesn't have. He can't say you owe me 50 and swear that you
No.
don't have to pay the other 50. You can't do that.
Yeah, but one witness, you would only have to swear on the 50 that he's testifying about. So the Gemara is saying, yeah, but what we can once one witness is having him swear on the 50, then we can put a Gilgal Shvua in and make him swear on the other 50 as well. So if one witness can get that other 50, an oath on the 50 that he's not even testifying about, so then for sure witnesses could also do, right? For sure. So we said, well, 1 second. 1 second, because that's starting with one oath. That's how you get another oath. But by two witnesses, we're not starting with an oath.
He's claiming he doesn't know him anything or half.
He's claiming he doesn't know anything.
Anything. So, practically speaking, he would say, "Swear to me that you owe me 50 and another 50 for 100%."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's one witness there. The one witness comes in. One witness comes in and says, "You owe 50." Okay. So you have to take an oath that you owe 50. Because you deny the whole thing, but the one witness can say that we don't trust you're denying because now you need to take an oath. The one witness comes in and obligates you to take an oath. They can't tell you that you have to pay.
Well, I mean, I feel like someone would more likely admit to like 50
exactly
than 0. So
exactly.
he would most likely admit to half, and then on top of that, he would say, like, okay.
Right, but he didn't. He denied everything.
Right.
One witness says that he has to pay 50. Okay, so one witness says he has to pay 50. So now you would have to take an oath on the 50, and we would throw in another oath on the other 50 that the one witness
say, hey, but you asked me if I owed you 50. You didn't ask me.
When now you
change the question.
No, I said that you owe 100. One witness says that you owe 50.
Okay.
So you have to take an oath on the first 50. Okay. Because once there's an oath there on the first 50, then we roll into it another oath on the other 50.
From another,
no, just because once there's an oath, we can insert another clause into that oath. All right. So now we're saying, so what is the point of that? How did we get that second oath? We get that second oath because we had a first oath. We said, no, we're going to compare that. The factor that causes that second oath is not necessarily the first oath, because when he admits, he has to take an oath and he never had the first oath. Okay. So the Gemara says, yeah, but maybe that's because when he admits, that's so strong, it can never be contradicted. So he said, well, what about witnesses? One witness can prove that that's not the factor, that he can never be contradicted. Because one witness can be contradicted. Another witness comes and says he doesn't know or something, and then he won't have to pay. Then he won't have to take an oath. 1 second. He won't have to take an oath. But nevertheless, one witness, even though it could be contradicted, still obligates an oath in a regular case. It says, 1 second. One witness only testifies, only causes an oath on what he actually testifies about, not on what he doesn't testify about. So, but witnesses will only cause an oath on what they testify, on what they don't testify about, which that we don't know. So it says, well, piv yechiach, but his own mouth can prove. Now his own mouth, when he admits, he has to swear on what he's not admitting to, right? Not what he's admitting to. Okay, so the Gemara says, v'chazer adin. Because of this, we're going to be able to find the common factor. The fact that he has to make an oath over here, the strength of that is not like the strength of this. And the fact that causes him to take that oath over there is not the same way as the the fact that caused him to take the oath here. However, the common denominator is that there's a claim, there's denying, and there's an oath. So we'll do the same thing with witnesses. There's a claim, there's a denying, and then there's an oath. Like Gemara says, 1 second. Yeah, we have a huge problem here. The problem is that when I don't have two witnesses that are testifying that he lied, then we don't know that he's a real liar. But here I have two witnesses that are testifying that he lied, then he's a real liar. How can you even impose an oath? Gemara says, 1 second. Is it really so that if there's two witnesses that testify that he owes money and he denied it, that he automatically becomes a huchsa kafran? Right, then we get out of it. But let's say we don't have that. But even if we don't have that, someone denies owing money, it doesn't mean that he's invalid for testimony. Could be he didn't have the money, so he was denying it. But however, if it's a deposit of an article that he's denying, then he is puzzled, because it's not that like the money was spent, or that he's supposed to be holding on to that article, and he denies it, find out that it wasn't true, that he really had it, then he would be puzzled. Gemara says, if you want to have a question on the Kal V'Chaimer, on the Tzad Shava, the question should be like this: witnesses could become zaymimin, but the Eid Echad and the one witness and the person's own mouth can never become zaymimin. That says Halei Kasha. That's not a problem, because Reb Chia Teres Azam Alei Parach. Reb Chia is not asking from Teres Azam. Teres Azam, it just means that he would have to pay what he wanted to do. That's just a penalty that's imposed afterwards. Reb Chia is looking at the strength of what could obligate an oath, not what's the penalty that comes afterwards if he does this or does that. So Reb Chia wasn't discussing that. So therefore, we would have here a Kal V'Chaimer of why witnesses should impose witnesses should impose an oath. Now, let me just go another few lines. El Dekama B'Tanatuna. But you said that our Mishnah supports this. Me, dummy, how can you say that our Mishnah supports this? Hasam l'malvis le'sadi l'loy v'les le'sadi l'maymasik le'v'le'midi. Diabli sadi l'loy v'le'maymasik le'v'le'midi l'loy boy Reb Chia l'shtabui. Acha ki hechi da'anan sadi b'hai afilu hachi mishtaba. Over here, we have to take an oath in the Mishnah, even though I have witnesses on both sides, because I have Ruvain holding on to one end of the talis, which is witnesses that prove that Shimon has to give him half. But I also have two witnesses for Shimon. And that has nothing to do with what we're saying here, that if I have witnesses that say that he owes 50, I don't have two witnesses saying that he doesn't owe the other 50. So our Mishnah can't be a proof to that, because our Mishnah has witnesses on both sides, and still he has an oath. So our Mishnah must be a different sort of oath. Our Mishnah must be a Takanas Chacham type of oath, not a Maid of a Miktasah. Okay, let's leave it over here. We'll start
So
Elek
leave on
B'Yetman.
that spot.
Okay.